Okay, so first things first, I have to give a shout out to the YouTube channel Pick a Side. I was struggling to try to figure out this audio equipment. I think I might have it now. I'm not quite sure. As a lot of you know, I am hard of hearing, so trying to figure out what sounds good and what doesn't sound good is absolutely very difficult for me, but Pick a Side was very helpful in helping me figure out what kind of equipment I need. So if it's good, then you have him to thank, and if it's not, I'm sure I'll be getting a comment in the comment section below letting me know why it's not good. So for those of you who have been dealing with my poor audio, thank you for bearing with me. And yeah, be sure to subscribe to Pick a Side. The link is in the description below to their channel. I'm also going to be putting a subscribe button at the end card, so be sure to check them out. But anyways, let's just jump into what this video is supposed to be about. And it's a very important part of this Super Bowl. It's an important part of any football game. It's going to be the edge rushers going up against the tackles. More specifically, I think more notably, it's the great San Francisco 49ers edge rushers going up against the very good Kansas City Chiefs tackles. You know, you have Schwartz and Eric Fisher. On a bit of a side note, actually kind of a fun fact, Eric Fisher could become the first #1 overall pick to win a Super Bowl since Peyton Manning and the second to win one since Drew Bledsoe. So it's kind of funny how it's almost never happened. It very rarely happens. It's basically only happened once in recent memory. And also, what's interesting about it is the fact that it's not like it's exactly a dominant player. You know, I mean, Fisher's been a fine tackle, but it's not like they're here because of Fisher. But anyways, let's just start talking about this, previewing this matchup. We'll start things off with San Francisco and what they do. And they really have three guys that I want to talk about. One is Arik Armstead, who can play anywhere, but is most effective as an edge rusher, probably. What he's going to be doing is he's going to be going up against Minnesota's right tackle on this play. And after the ball snapped, actually, Minnesota's tackle does a pretty decent job of getting himself in good position right here. It's play action, so he wants to sell as though it could be a run block, but at the same time, he still is in a good position where he can pass block now. If Armstead continues to try to run around, then it's going to be pretty easy. Then he can simply just push him to the outside. Really, at this point for Armstead, all he can do is try to get to the inside, but of course that's risky because you can be giving up containment if you don't pull it off. So what he's going to do is try to get his right hand basically right there on the left shoulder pad, and he's going to try to use that to help give him some leverage to get around him. That's the mindset right here. And look at how well it works. He gets to the inside so well, he even ends up kind of bumping into a guard and then tackles poor Kirk Cousins. And I always feel bad when Kirk Cousins gets sacked. I mean, the poor guy, be nice to him. Kirk Cousins should be allowed to play flag football. Make everyone else play tackle. But anyways, I mean, yeah, that's what Armstead can do. And he's really one of three guys that can make those highlight reel plays on any select play. Another one of those guys might actually be their biggest name besides Richard Sherman on defense already. Just in his rookie season, he's blasted onto the screen. I don't think he's their second best player on defense, but I do think that he is probably their second most known player at this point, and he's really good. I mean, like on this play, he's going up against Minnesota's left tackle, and watch what happens right when the ball is snapped. This is what he does so frequently. It's what he did in college, and it's what he's doing in the NFL now. He gets his left arm to the inside of the right arm of the tackle right there. Doing this does a couple of things. One, it makes it easier for you to get your right arm a little bit further out as well, which obviously makes it more difficult for a tackle to get his left arm on your right shoulder. So you have that part going for you, but the disadvantage is kind of that it's going to be a lot easier for a tackle to push you behind the quarterback. So at this point, basically just stopping Bosa in his tracks is going to be tough. You could at least push him behind Cousins, then Cousins could step up in the pocket and have some time to make a throw. That's what you probably should try to do here. But Bosa is just too strong. He can't pull that off, and he's able to run over and, again, sack poor defenseless Kirk Cousins, who is doing nothing wrong. So that's what the San Francisco 49ers defensive line can do. And it's not just those two guys. It's also Dee Ford, the guy they brought on. And kind of one of the negatives about Dee Ford getting brought on is that all he really does is speed rush. That's kind of the main thing he does. But quite frankly, that's totally fine because being a good speed rusher is totally valuable in the NFL, and it'll especially be valuable in this game. I think that's actually going to be a key way to potentially get to Mahomes is with speed, and we'll get into that in a second, but let's just show an example of how he can speed rush so effectively. He's going to be going up against Rob Havenstein, who admittedly is, he has a bigger name at this point than actual value. He had such a good season last year, definitely kind of fell off this season, unfortunate, but anyways, what's going to happen is that Ford is going to try to do his speed rush, but the Rams, they're prepared for something like this to a degree. They have a halfback in the game who's lined up on Ford's side. He's not going to be blocking Ford, but he's in the game enough that could kind of get Ford to say, maybe I shouldn't just go full speed rush in case he is blocking. Then it would just be running straight into a double team. Wouldn't want to do that too much. However, Ford is going to say, it's what I do. He might not be blocking. I'm going to take the chance and see if I can get around Havenstein, and look at how well it works out. At this point, there is nothing you can do except for try to push him behind Goff. That's what you have to do here. There's no way you're going to stop him. You ideally, in a perfect world, would want to get your right hand on Ford's left shoulder pad, and it's on his right shoulder pad. So you're very far away. You got to just try to push him behind Goff, but while Ford is mostly a speed guy, he is still strong enough that you can't just completely push him around. He is able to run over and get to Goff, and he knocks the ball out too, which that's one of the benefits of being a speed guy like Ford is it will result in more fumbles because you can sort of get around and hit the hand like that, and it's tougher for a quarterback to see you. So when you can use speed like that, it can result in not just a sack, but a fumble. And as I alluded to earlier, I do think that speed is the way to beat Kansas City. More importantly, it's the way to beat Eric Fisher. Fisher is far from a bad player. He kind of didn't quite play as good this season as he has in the past few years. A huge part of that was probably just because of his injury, I would imagine. I mean, he was not healthy throughout the course of this season, but that is actually one thing that worries me is I just don't know how healthy he will be in the Super Bowl. I don't know how 100% he is, because he definitely doesn't look as good as he was last year, in my opinion. Again, it's not like he's fallen off. He's still been fine. I just thought that he was at a Pro Bowl level last year, and now he's kind of just been fine, been good, but not great. That's just my opinion from what I've seen. Really, one of the key ways that I think that he hasn't been as good is just with speed, actually, which is why I said earlier, I think Ford could actually have a big role in this Super Bowl. Like, on this play, he's going up one-on-one against Khalil Mack, so listen, nobody can beat Khalil Mack one-on-one. I'm not going to blame him, but watch what happens right after the ball is snapped. Notice how Mack is able to get to the outside like that, just so quickly. Again, Mack does this to a lot of people, but the difference between Mack's speed and Ford's speed isn't really that much different. I mean, obviously, the exception of what makes Khalil Mack so great is he is just as fast as a Dee Ford, while just as strong as anybody else in the league. So he has that unbelievable combination that makes him an elite player. So he's able to get around Fisher like that and get to Mahomes. If that's Dee Ford, he probably would have struggled a little bit more at getting around Fisher, but I do think that he can beat Fisher with his speed. I would not be surprised at all to see 55 being lined up against 72 throughout a large part of those snaps. I can definitely see that happening. So that's definitely an interesting thing to watch heading into this game. I do think that one thing that will actually probably help Kansas City is I doubt if you're San Francisco, you're going to blitz too much. You're probably not going to get too creative because really this is a smart Chiefs offensive line. Schwartz is a very smart player. He's good, but he's also very smart. And take a look at this play when Tennessee tried to fool him and it didn't work out too well. First things first, they're going to have a defensive back run out to the outside who will just take away the halfback. So while there is a halfback who is blocking, it's not really going to help them too much because the defensive back is also rushing the passer. So the Chiefs' offensive line is on their own, at least on the left side of the screen. But then what Tennessee is going to do is have a linebacker drop back into coverage. They're then going to have an edge rusher run to Schwartz's left or to the right side of the screen, and then they're going to pull an interior lineman to try to get around him. The idea is that Schwartz moves to the inside to block the edge rusher, and then he leaves somebody completely free, or at least free enough that he can then try to make a play. That's the way this play is supposed to work on paper for the Titans. And after the ball is snapped, without a doubt, Schwartz ran over to try to make sure he's blocking an edge rusher, which is what you would do in this situation, but now he has somebody running completely free who can try to make this play. But Schwartz is aware enough, he's quick enough, and he's strong enough that he's still able to run over, get in position, and protect Mahomes. So, quite frankly, from that side, from the right side, Kansas City should be looking in pretty good shape. And, Fisher is far from a bad player, so really, I do think that while you should attack Fisher, especially with speed, and, San Francisco does have some fast guys, I do think that this matchup is definitely a big time matchup. It's not going to be as bad as we've seen certain matchups where the 49ers defensive line has just completely dominated some offensive lines, like against Minnesota. That was just kind of brutal, I thought, throughout the course of a game. It won't be quite that way against Kansas City, especially not in the passing game. But that being said, if they can use speed to get around Fisher, and then they kind of just say, you know what, let's have Bosa basically just line up one-on-one and see if, just let him do his thing against Schwartz, that could potentially result in some wins for San Francisco. And that's kind of all they need, is they just need some wins. This could be, or at least we're all thinking that it probably will be, a very high-scoring game. So if you can just get a couple sacks, maybe get a fumble, that could be the difference in the Super Bowl. So that can definitely help them out a lot. Typically, Kansas City is not afraid to chip somebody. They chipped Khalil Mack for most of that game, with the exception of, a few plays, one of which I showed you. But of course, the dilemma with that is just that they have so many talented people that can rush the passer, and I haven't even mentioned the guys on the interior. So you just have so much to worry about. You don't want to spend extra resources chipping somebody if possible. And, Kansas City, they like to put their halfbacks in the passing game. So you could, at the very least, for San Francisco, if nothing else, if you can get a chip, you can at least give yourself a numbers advantage in the secondary, which can be nice. But yeah, it's just one of the many very interesting subplots heading into this Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to seeing how it'll play out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this audio quality. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.